Yeah, we have another third-year quarterback in the division, Sam Darnold with the Jets, and I love the Jets over 7.5 last year, and they went 7-9 with Darnold missing 4 games with mono. That was kind of a big loser for me. So I'm going to Vegas in a couple of weeks. I was looking over my betting slips, and I had so much action on the Jets over 7.5. Like if Darnold missed 3 games instead of 4, maybe they would have gotten there, but unfortunately they didn't. But now there's kind of turmoil. Like Jamal Adams wants to be traded. There was a report by Manish Mehta from the New York Daily News. He reported that almost everyone on the Jets roster, except for Sam Darnold, hates Adam Gase. So things aren't looking too good, right?
Yeah, I was kind of thinking that the Jets may have a little bit of bounce back potential this year. But I know both you and I hate Adam Gase, so there was always kind of some heavy skepticism. And by hate, I mean hate him as a coach. I'm sure he's a fine guy. But there was a heavy dose of skepticism in terms of trusting Gase to run this team right. And it does not sound like he's doing that. He just keeps alienating talented players, which makes no sense whatsoever. And I kind of feel that Darnold is kind of like gripping onto him right now because if he doesn't, then he'll be on his third coach in as many seasons or third coach in 4 years in the NFL. And no player wants to go through that. And maybe they have a good working relationship. But I think you just look at this Jets team. They have some talent for sure. I really like what they did on the offensive line. They drafted Mekhi Becton. They signed Connor McGovern. So they added 2 potential starters to that unit, which was much worse last year than a lot of people, and by a lot of people, I mean myself, expected. I think a lot of people were lower on the Jets line than me, so I was wrong there. And they drafted Denzel Mims, another real athletic freak who I think adds a lot to their receiving core. Same with Rashad Perryman. So they should be better on offense, but if the players aren't buying into Gase, they'll quit on him, and he'll be a real lame duck coach. And he just won't be able to put his system into effect. And I don't think they're particularly great on defense. And to further complicate matters, their best player, Jamal Adams, wants out. So I'm not trusting the Jets this year. I kind of think this might be a year where the players just kind of let things go a little bit. Not that they won't try hard, but they're not going to play super hard for Adam Gase if they don't like him. They're going to want him out. And maybe it could be a situation where if New York starts really slowly and then they oust Gase and then Greg Williams takes over as the interim, which would likely be the choice, they may play really hard for him and win some games. But I don't think that they're going to be in contention for any sort of playoff spot because their defense is a bit too weak and their coaching is extremely suspect at the top.
I used to like Adam Gase. I thought that he got the Dolphins to the playoffs that first year with Ryan Tannehill and then Matt Moore. So I liked him from the start, and obviously what he's done as a assistant head coach, offensive coordinator in the past. It just you look at all the players who have left him, like Devontae Parker, who was struggled completely under Gase. He had his best year just this past year. Kenyon Drake did nothing with Adam Gase. He just had his best year. And you look at the players who joined him. Le'Veon Bell went from a perennial Pro Bowler. He barely did anything last year. Sam Darnold has not really progressed. I thought Sam Darnold, at times, I would say he was better as a rookie than in his second year. And now maybe the mono had something to do with that, and he wasn't 100%. And someone who had mono in the past, I know that it takes a while to recover. So I think Darnold could be better this upcoming year, especially if he doesn't hate Adam Gase like everyone else does. But Adam Gase just ruins everything because I think I'd like this Jets team otherwise. If Jamal Adams wasn't asking out, if Adam Gase wasn't alienating everyone else. If you look at the Jets, they had some major injuries last year, not just with Darnold, but on defense as well. They missed C.J. Mosley for 14 games. They missed Avery Williamson, their other linebacker, for the entire year. They were missing the top 2 linebackers for every game except for 2, and they get both guys back, and I think that's huge. Like it should make the defense a lot better. They still have some holes, but Quinton Williams in his second year is going to be a lot better. Their secondary should be a little bit better as long as Jamal Adams doesn't leave. And then you mentioned their offensive line. Connor McGovern, I think, is a big upgrade at center. Greg Van Roten at guard, I think, is nice too. Not a big fan of George Fant, but we'll see. I think there's at least upside there. And then Mekhi Becton should be great. It's just I just hate Adam Gase so much that I can't have the Jets do that well. I think they're gonna win between 5 and 7 games, and I think they're gonna have enough with Adam Gase. I think he's gonna be fired at the end of the year.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that's about the range that they should fall into because they have too much talent to be one of the worst teams in the league. But if they quit on the coaching staff, which I wouldn't blame them if they do, I could see them finishing with 5 wins. I completely forgot about George Fant until you mentioned him. So that's about what I think of him. I don't know why they paid him one of those weird 3-year, $30 million deals that we saw so many players sign last year. But it just goes to show you that they value athleticism because they spent a lot of money on him in their first 2 picks on Denzel Mims and Mekhi Becton. So clearly they're valuing athletic ability, and they'll probably bring in a new coach who also values athleticism when they have to eventually replace Adam Gase. Just one more note about the Jets, though. I'm looking at their defense, and like they have some solid position groups, but one of their weakest ones is the edge rush position in the 3-4 defense that they run. Like their starters are Jordan Jenkins, who is solid, but then across from him, at least listed on the depth chart that I'm checking out, is Harvey Lange, who I believe played with the Patriots for a little bit and was an inside linebacker. I am actually very happy that he's listed as a starter because I think he got into like a bad car accident with them and has apparently since recovered and has made it onto the team. So props to you, Harvey, for making it back from that. But yeah, he shouldn't be a starter probably at the NFL level. He's more of a good backup at special teamer. So that's an area for the Jets to improve upon for sure.
I thought Harvey Lange was a co-host on a late night show. I never, I don't think he should be starting either. And this has been a problem for the Jets for years. I feel like I've listed edge rusher as their top need for like the past 5 or 6 years. Remember they drafted Vernon Golson? Like that was the one time they tried to address the position and it didn't work out. Just feels like they look at that pick. They're like, oh, we don't want another Vernon Golson. So they just avoid it. Yeah, they definitely need to address that. That's definitely a huge need. But they also need a new head coach. So I think that's a big problem for them. All right. So we have the Dolphins left over. They went a surprising 5-11. They were getting blown out every single week to start the year. It was automatic money to fade them. And that's something changed. They got better as the year progressed. I think we saw Brian Flores really emerge as a good head coach, but still they seem to be lacking in talent. So how do you think this team's going to do this year?
I think that they'll do roughly the same as what they did last year. I think they're going to be the classic case of a team that plays really hard week in and week out because, as we've seen, Brian Flores just knows how to motivate players, and it looks like he's the next rising star of a head coach. So I think that they ended up with a great hire there. And I do like the talent that the Dolphins have added this year. I think they overpaid a little for Eric Flowers, but he should be an upgrade on the offensive line. Ted Karras should be an upgraded center. Basically, they had a ton of problems on the offensive line, and they spent 3 draft picks and signed 2 bigger free agents at the position. So I think they're going to have a lot of competition there. Should improve things for Tua. I think picking Tua was excellent for them. They were kind of tanking for him and then realized they could get him at a later pick and were able to do that. I think Tua is going to be a star if he can stay healthy. And they don't have to rush him onto the field because Ryan Fitzpatrick's super capable backup. So I love the situation they've put Tua in, and they're not in a rush to win because Flores can afford one more subpar season, especially if the team plays well. So I think they have some good pieces in place on offense in terms of youth. I think Matt Breida and Devontae Parker are both going to have big roles this year, and it'll be interesting to see if Parker can continue to progress without Adam Gase. And really become a star receiver. And Breida being kind of the lead back there in tandem with Jordan Howard, he should have a chance to improve as well. I think on the defensive side of the ball, they're a little bit weaker. I think they have a really good cornerback group with Xavier Howard, Byron Jones, and Noah Igbinoghene, their other first round pick. But they don't have a great pass rush. They have okay linebackers. They signed Kyle Van Noy and Elandon Roberts away from the Patriots, who I think will be a couple solid playmakers. But I think there's still a work in progress there. They'll need to find some better contributors in the future. But I think they made the right choice, kind of investing a lot of resources this offseason in the offense, kind of set Tua up for future success. and then they can rebuild the defense more in the upcoming offseason. So I think the Dolphins are 1 year away from being competitive, but I think they're going to fight hard. So I could see them going probably between 4 and 6 wins. I think that's kind of their range this year. They just don't have enough talent to be anything more than that.
Yeah, I agree with that. I have them at 3-13 on the site, but that was like, it was tough to find them wins in the schedule. But I imagine that, some of these teams that they're going to play are going to have injuries, and they're going to sneak away some wins. Kind of like they did last year. Just Brian Flores, I think, will get some wins out of them. So I think they're going to. I'd say ultimately they'll win about 5 games this year. I think the offensive line upgrades are huge, but they have no pass rush at all unless Christian Wilkins makes a big jump. He struggled as a rookie, but he has tons of potential. Like, he could get better, but they have no edge rush. That's the problem that they'll have to fix, and they have a bunch of picks next year, and they can do that. The linebacking core is and cornerbacks are their the best areas on the defense. Their safeties are pretty bad too. So you're going to be able to throw deep on them, I think, especially with no pass rush. Their offensive line, like I said, is going to be big for Ryan Fitzpatrick. I don't anticipate Tua Tagovailoa playing this year. Maybe like the final couple of games. His own agent, Lee Steinberg, he said that he doesn't like rookie quarterbacks playing, and he knows something about that because he has Patrick Mahomes as his top client, and Mahomes sat the entire rookie year except for the final game. So I don't see a reason to have Tua maybe aggravate the injury. So I think that having him sit the entire year and getting him ready for 2021, especially with this weird offseason, like where he doesn't get to work with anyone. I think it's best for him to sit. So you're going to have Ryan Fitzpatrick. Like, he had some magical moments last year. I just watched the Eagles-Dolphins game recently. He was just excellent in that game somehow. But he's getting pretty old. So maybe there will be a decline with him. So I think that, Dolphins, like you said, probably between 4 and 6 wins.
Yeah, and I think sitting Tua the whole year, if possible, makes sense, because why would you rush him into play if you're not realistically competing for any sort of playoff spot? You give him the full year to get fully healthy, something he never had a chance to do at Alabama. Even with the ankle surgeries he had, it was always like they were rushing him back to play in the LSU game, and it's understandable because they want to win at college, but it kind of was a disservice to Tua a little bit. So I think if he sits a full year, it'll be good. It'll also give the Dolphins a chance to potentially evaluate some of the other quarterbacks on their roster. If Josh Rosen can't emerge as like their starter over Fitzpatrick, they could just cut bait with him. And they also have Jake Rudock on the team, who I think is like a preseason guy who does really well in the preseason, if I remember correctly. So, we can kind of see, is he anything more than that, or can he be a backup? So I think it's kind of good for them to get a look at their other young guys and give Tua a chance to develop. So I think the Dolphins are well positioned to be competitive at some point in the future. It just won't be now.
Yeah, and Awan says in the comments he thinks Mike Gesicki is going to get better. I like Gesicki a lot this year for fantasy because he's going to play in the slot, and that's pretty big for Chan Gailey's offense. All right, let's get to the odds. The Bills are plus 138. This is on Bookmaker. The Bills are plus 138 to win the division. Dolphins are plus 1,300. Patriots now the favorites, minus 108, and the Jets are plus 930. So does anything stand out there?
I think I like the Bills just because they're second to the Patriots, and it's understandable why. I mean, the Patriots have Bill Belichick, and the addition of Cam Newton really changes the game there. But I still think that the Bills, like you mentioned, have that advantage over the Patriots in terms of their secondary and receiving core. So I think the Bills could emerge and really should emerge as the winners in this division. And betting on Cam Newton to stay healthy is not something that I would do, even though I'm hoping that he will, because I don't like the division race that much better. So I might put a little bit on the Bills there. It's not like a great value or anything, but I think given that I think them and the Patriots have about the same chance of winning the division, at least in my mind. So I'm willing to put down a little bit on the Bills at that number.
Yeah, it seems like good value. The Bills are favored before the Cam Newton trade. And I could obviously see the Patriots winning the division, but I think at plus 138, I like the Bills a little bit. If the numbers were inverted, if the Bills were minus 108 and the Patriots were plus 138, I probably like the Patriots at plus 138. So